This happened a while ago. Our company is responsible for handling foreclosed properties. Recently, the person in charge of this task suddenly stopped coming to work, so the unfinished work fell on my shoulders. To be honest, our company was asked by some people to handle these problematic properties, and the sources or methods are not always clean. It's quite common for people to leave halfway through, so I didn't really mind. I took the investigation materials left by the previous person in charge, which were dirty and messy. It took a lot of effort to get to this remote countryside place.
This house looks so old.
The house seemed very ancient, with walls and floors either broken or cracked. The damp smell made my mood sink to the bottom. But work is work, so I had to pull myself together and start investigating and measuring the house. After about an hour, I saw a child in the yard through the window, facing me and squatting on the ground, playing with something. As I watched, I suddenly felt something indescribably strange. The child seemed a bit stiff, or rather, he didn't move at all, making me think he was just a doll at first glance. But there can't be such a thing as a squatting doll, right? At least, I've never heard of it. But he didn't seem like a human either.
Why would a child randomly come to play in someone else's house?
In this extremely remote countryside, with the surroundings so quiet, I was honestly a bit scared. Judging by the state of decay of the house, it seemed uninhabited for about 3 years. It wouldn't be surprising if it was used as a playground by children. After a while, nothing special happened, and I continued making records of the house. In the corner of the notes left by the previous person in charge, I saw a sentence. The kitchen is strange.
What does it mean that the kitchen is strange?
Most of the notes were measurements of various parts of the house, so this sentence stood out. I was curious, so I went to check the kitchen. Besides the floor being very damp, there was nothing special. But in the room opposite the kitchen, I saw a full-length mirror. The mirror slightly reflected the image of a child. Although the room was very dark and I couldn't see clearly, I could confirm it was the same child from the yard.
So he came inside.
But that kid really made me uncomfortable. Not only did he make no sound at all, but the surroundings were eerily quiet. Plus, the unique smell of the old house was making me dizzy. Feeling increasingly uncomfortable, I suddenly remembered the existence of Zashiki Warashi, which are spirit-like beings told about mostly in Japan. At this point, I had no courage to approach the kid, so I decided to investigate the bathroom next door. To be honest, I was actually escaping to the bathroom. At least, I successfully escaped. Entering the bathroom, I found the level of decay even more shocking. Probably due to mold, the smell was almost choking me. I couldn't stay in there for long. Looking at the notes, fortunately, most of the bathroom measurements were already done. But below the numbers, there was a sentence. The bathroom is scary. Under normal circumstances, I would think this person was talking nonsense. But now, I couldn't laugh at all. The handwriting in the notes became increasingly sloppy compared to the beginning, as if written while trembling. The further I read, the less I could understand. At this point, I started wondering why the previous person in charge stopped coming to work. Was he sick? While trying to recall, I inadvertently looked around. The bathroom door, which I remembered being open, was now closed, and the frosted glass on the door clearly reflected a human figure. I thought,
Hey, is that the kid from before?
As I was thinking, the figure on the frosted glass suddenly started moving in an exaggerated manner, almost like dancing. The head moved up and down, left and right. The hands and feet flapped back and forth, and the body twisted continuously. But the most important thing was that I didn't hear any sound of footsteps on the floor. Everything was silent, except for the constantly twisting figure in front of me. My legs were already weak, and I couldn't run. My hands were shaking. Those movements were not human at all. It wasn't something a human should be able to do. But staying here wasn't an option either, and I didn't dare to open the door. My eyes fell on a small window that I could escape through. A window that could be pushed open with a handle, but the angle was limited. Could I squeeze through? While worrying, I suddenly thought of something and quickly took out the notes to see if there was any solution written, but I still couldn't understand most of it, except for the last line. No face. I thought, who has no face? Who is this referring to? At that moment, I saw the window faintly reflecting the image of a child. I realized he was probably standing behind me. When did he come in? That kid still made no sound at all. I couldn't escape. Gritting my teeth, I decided to turn around quickly. There was no one there. Back at the company, I noticed that the notes were written 3 years ago. So I told my boss, who had assigned me the house, about the incident.
That's strange. Wasn't this thing dealt with a long time ago?
I grabbed my boss, who was about to leave after saying this, and asked for clarification. It turned out that the haunted house had a child with a deformed face. The person in charge at the time wrote this in the report and handed it to the client, who rejected it with a, "I don't want this kind of thing." The house seemed to be that troublesome. After rewriting the original investigation report, I indeed saw words like "no face" and "the bathroom is scary" written on it. In this industry, it's common to encounter haunted houses. When confirming that there are indeed ghostly occurrences, it's an unspoken rule to note it subtly in the report. I checked other haunted house reports and found that they indeed had such notes. Why is this still happening now? I asked my boss.
As long as you weren't possessed, it's fine. By the way, I was the one in charge back then.
I was dumbfounded. It turned out my boss had investigated the house 3 years ago, found it haunted, and after the client rejected it, he disposed of the report. But somehow, it ended up in my hands again. I wondered, should I be grateful that I wasn't possessed? Or should I be terrified of this mysteriously reappearing house report? If you want to see my videos faster, please like and subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon to get new video updates.